Hey guys, so I've finally done it. I've gone for it. I've gone for a PC build. I'm going to try it out and see how it is. I've been testing out my Xbox Series S with mouse and keyboard, and I think I'm doing alright, so let's go. We've got the new Corsair 220T case. It's a mid-ATX case. Let me run through what I've got. So first off, we have the ROG Strix B450F Gaming 2 motherboard. I think it's a good base to start. It supports AMD and 5 series and supports Windows 11. So up next, guys, we've got the RM850 Corsair power supply. It should do the job. And also don't forget, I will link all these down below in a kit, or I'll just link them separately. So next we have the Vengeance Pro RGB RAM. I'm not a massive RGB super fan, but I'm going to give it a go. Should do the job. It's 3600 megahertz. It's a 2x8 gigabyte kit. Yeah, because you always want them in pairs, remember. So hopefully this will work and should do the job nicely. Next for the SSD, gone for a WD Black. It's got ridiculous read speeds of 7000 and write, I think it might be 4000, something like that. Great SSD for gaming, super fast speeds. You can also use this in your PlayStation or something. Now for the processor, I've gone for the 5 Series one. It's a Ryzen 7 5800X processor, so it's got 8 cores, I believe, and it was just a really good deal. It was only like 50 quid more than the 5600, I think, or one of the lower ones, so I just went for this anyway. Next up is the Corsair's H100X high performance CPU cooler. Again, it doesn't have the RGB, but it was a bit cheaper, and I'm not too fussed. It's just got a nice white LED, but essentially is exactly the same. So hopefully this will fit in. This is my main worry. Hopefully I can get this to fit in, but I will do somehow, and because I know there can be issues with these in the 220T cases because they're quite small. It's quite long, but it depends on the motherboard, so we'll find out, and if it works, it saves you guys messing about, and you can. And a big drum roll please for this, the main star of the show, the graphics card. We have the AMD Radeon RX 700 XT. Obviously prices are pretty nuts at the moment, but I managed to get this for a pretty decent price. It sits between a 360 and a 370 Ti, I think. It's supposed to be pretty decent, and you know what, I'm not too bothered. It's a good 1440p card. 4K, it does 4K at 60 FPS, so if you're alright with that, I mean, I'm more of a casual gamer anyway, so I'm happy to give this a go. And you never know, in the future I can always bump it up to something, you know, once prices calm down a bit, get something a little nicer. But I think this will do me for a good while, and you know, for my type of gaming, it's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to using this card. So don't forget, at the end I will do some benchmarks after I've set it all up. But yeah, first we're going to start building this, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so let's start with the motherboard. This is where you want to begin your journey. Okay guys, so here's the motherboard. Looks pretty cool and sleek. Liking it so far. So the first job you want to do is get your CPU and plug that in. So here we have the new CPU. Just one thing to bear in mind when you're doing this, got a little gold part in the corner here on the bottom left. I don't know if you can see it right really well, but you want to line that up with the board itself, so let's go ahead and do that. And there you should be good to go. So now I'm going to open the Corsair case to get all the bolts out, etc. right in there, and then we'll proceed with the next stages. So panel off, and there you can see the screws and stuff put in a little hard drive bay. So you can take that out neatly. And we'll just take this glass panel off, just lift it up by its side. That's one side. So here we have all our connectors that go down to this board here. Well, let's just move that to one side, we'll just shove that down here. Okay, so the moment of truth, we're going to try and place this motherboard in its place. So you want to try and line everything up. You've got the I/O board on the left, you know, the inputs and outputs. Okay, so what I was saying earlier was you need to line up the holes and the I/O board on the left, and you want to make sure that it's all lined up. You just push it across, you lay it down, and you can see all the holes are all lined up there. So you want to make sure these are all screwed in. Okay, so that's our motherboard installed with the processor in. Now we're going to install the SSD, the WD Black version. Okay, to do this we're going to have to remove this heatsink here, down in the bottom corner, bottom part of the case, the motherboard. So make sure you line up this little section with the SSD part here. So you've got them lined up, you can see. Gently, a little wiggle in, so you click, and you can screw that section in there. Okay, next let's install the RAM. So here we have the Vengeance Pro I mentioned earlier. So these are quite chunky RGB DDR RAM. So what we're going to do is just line them up, but because we've only got two, we've got to make sure you line them up in the correct ports. So according to the manual, it says to put it in A2 and B2, which are the two furthest away. So that'll be A2 there, because they need to be in parallel, the same bus. So that was A2 and B2, so from the instructions that's how you want to lay it out. And there you go. And then it says like if you're using another two slots, so if you had another two sticks like 8, you put the other one there and the other one there. And then if you had two, yeah, so that's 16, but if you had if this was 16 and that was 16, then you want to put another two 16s. Just make sure those marry up. So now let's try and install the power supply. Okay, so first of all you've got these box of modular cables. So these are the modular ones that you can connect and remove, which is I would recommend, so it keeps your case neater. They are a bit more expensive, but I think it's worth it. And there we go, we have the power supply. Okay, so it did fit okay, but I might need to remove it because of the cables. You want to make sure the fan is on the bottom, and basically it will suck in the cool air and expel it out the back. It will be separate from the rest of the cooling. So let's just slide that in. Oh, that was not very gentle at all. Okay, so that's now locked in. So we're going to grab this chunky one first. And then we've got a PCI Express one after we've installed the main big chunky one. Okay, so I think I've got all the cables installed correctly. So let's move on to the cooling. We're going to try and fit it up there, see if it'll fit. Okay, so here we have the radiator, and we have the header there. It's got a bit of thermal paste on the bottom already. So first of all, we want to remove these Intel ones. Okay, now that's been removed, you want to okay, so unfortunately this won't fit because of the RAM here. Let me try and show you. If I try and put it in here, it's just a little bit too long, which is annoying because you'd think Corsair maybe tested this in their own case, maybe just made some lower profile fans maybe, but or made it a little bigger the case. But I'm gonna try just moving it. Okay, so I think this will do temporarily, and we'll put 2 fans on the back. So here it is, it's only 2 fan. Nice. So that should go nicely in there. Okay, let's see what happens when we boot this up. Just one thing to note: there are 2 PCI Express leads that I've ran, just in case. I was going to run it off one, which you can do, but I just ran 2 instead, so you can see that there. Okay, let's see what happens when we boot it up. I haven't got Windows installed on it yet, so I'll need to do that. Okay, so it looks okay. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to tweak some of the settings now. Okay guys, so after upgrading your RAM in the BIOS, so you set a profile so it overclocks it to 3600, which is what this is rated at, the RAM I've installed on here. I've just put the memory clock on the graphics card to the top here. You can see the settings, and the MSI Afterburner, you can download that separately, just how I'm going to rate the gameplay. So I think I'm going to start off with just with a few games. I'm going to start with Battlefield, I think.
Execute all targets in the AO. Gas is inbound.